Hi, I'm Alison Clark, and I am a mother of 3 children with childhood apraxia of speech. And we are here at the Kaufman Center for the 4th time. Our first time here was in 2011 when my oldest was just turning 4 years old. We were very concerned about her lack of language and the fact that she couldn't speak. And she just made grunts and points and gestures and things like that. My oldest is almost 12, and when she turned 1, or around 1, she started to say mama, dada, things like that, but then it never progressed. And then she actually regressed in some areas, and things that she could have said she wasn't able to say or couldn't recall. And I went to my pediatrician, just like any mom would. She said, oh, well, let's watch it. Some kids are later. And so at 2 years old was when my pediatrician said, okay, we need to get an evaluation. So we had an evaluation. She had an SLP there in her practice. And the SLP really didn't give me much information. Pretty much everything that I already knew was that she was delayed. We knew that, but there really wasn't much direction. We did sign up for our early intervention services, which in my state of Oklahoma is called Sooner Start. We did qualify for that, and we started therapy, in-home therapy, several times a week in our home. We do live in rural America, which makes things a bit difficult because things are services and resources are really far away. So we had to just make adjustments in our life to do what we needed to do for our child. Probably 4 to 6 months into our speech therapy with Sooner Start, I just felt as a mom I wasn't seeing much progress. I didn't feel like, I just had that mommy gut feeling that there could be more that we could be doing for Maggie. Plus, we didn't really have a diagnosis. We just knew, hey, she can't talk. Then other things floated around, every time people would say, oh, is she autistic? Is she this? Is she that? And so as a mom, you start to question yourself. And so I just did what any good mom would, and I got on the internet and I started researching night after night after night, many nights. And I finally found this word apraxia. And I was like, this is what my child has. And I knew it right away. She had every single, marker for that. And as I researched, I found Nancy Kaufman's name and researched a lot about her. I got on some blogs and asked a lot of questions and really researched her methods and really just kind of educated myself to see how can I help my child. As it turns out, a couple months later, I found out that Nancy was coming to Oklahoma City for her for a teaching session with SLPs, and it happened that parents were allowed to go. And so I was like, I'm going. I drove 85 miles to Oklahoma City, and I met Nancy for the first time. And there was about, I think, 4 or 5 parents there, and there was probably 100 or 200 SLPs in the room. But I sat right in the front, and after the very first video that she showed, I'll never forget, it was a little boy, and she showed him at 3 or 4 years old, and then she showed him as a graduate from college, and the fact that he spoke multiple languages. And it was just, I just sat in this big room and just cried my eyes out because I knew that finally there was hope for my child. And so during that session, Nancy said, well, parents can have lunch with me. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I'm sure I probably asked a bazillion questions, but at the end of that lunch, Nancy said, well, just send me a video and we'll see what we can do. I got the video together, and it was just a homemade video. I don't even think I sent her footage of a session because I really wasn't happy with the therapist at the time. So it was just rough footage, and she called me personally at my house a couple weeks later and said, hey, I can help you. And I will never forget those words, because that was the first time in the 4 years of my child's life that anyone said, I can help you. I can help your family. I can help your child. And that was huge. And so we decided we're coming to Michigan, and we did fundraisers. We came the first time in May of 2011. Maggie had just turned 4, and Maggie just had, I wouldn't really even say words. She just had a few approximations, but it was more just, we knew what she wanted. We knew what this grunt mean and this vocalization meant. But obviously to the untrained ear, it was, you would not know what she needed. By the end of that week, I call it like the boot camp week. By the end of the week, Maggie was making approximations of her name and things that she needed. I want this, I want that. And it was amazing to see the potential in my child, because Macie pushed my child in a positive way, but if she hadn't pushed her, we wouldn't have never known her potential. And so after that, we took all of our tools, all the things that we learned, we took them back home to Oklahoma. We got into speech therapy, we got into OT, and I actually quit my job and decided to stay home, because I ended up having another child, Macie, and she's 2 years younger than Maggie, and she also has apraxia. So at this point, we decided, my husband and I, that I would stay home, and I homeschooled our children for 5 years, during which time we would travel back and forth from Oklahoma City for speech and OT 3 to 4 times a week, and it's a 80-mile trip just one way. So we definitely lived in our car. We just had to make it work, and we did. And my girls were in that therapy situation for about 8 years. They were definitely a great family for us, and definitely willing to embrace Nancy's methods, even so much that they actually came to the Kaufman Center in 2013. We came here in October of 2013, and my OT, which was actually the director of our center, Sensational Kids in Oklahoma City, and her daughter, who was an SLP there. So they came and they got to work with Nancy, which was amazing, and they still talk about it and talk about how much they learned. So if you get an opportunity to bring a therapist here, it's life-changing. It's amazing, because not only can you take what Nancy has recommended and do it in your home, but they can do it and work with your child in their setting as well. The girls continue to progress and doing well. Every little victory is a huge one for them. We ended up having another child in 2014. And before that, we did seek out genetic counseling, but pretty much all they could tell us was that since we had 2 children with similar diagnoses, that there would be a 20% chance that we would have a 3rd child. And so, but that was kind of a generalization. It really wasn't for apraxia. It was just genetics in general. So we gambled, and we had our son in 2014. And the good thing is that because we've lived through this 2 prior times, we were able to really recognize those markers even earlier. And I knew probably about less than a year that I knew that there was something going on. And so we just got back on that train, and we got back into speech therapy. We went through Sooner Start again. I contacted Nancy. We have private speech. We had speech actually at 2 different private areas at this point. And then this year, when he was in preschool, this year he was 4, he had speech through the school. And so I knew that once he was ready, that I wanted to come back here and work with Nancy again, just to get that, tailored list of things that we can do to make him better and make him progress and be successful. His sisters Right now, Maggie is, we just finished the 5th grade. She does read at a 7th grade level, which is amazing. Some people have told me that, some apraxic kids may never read well or maybe can't read at all, and she does great. My middle daughter, Macie, she's very musical. She's always loved music, and I'm a music teacher. And this year, I was super excited because she entered a music festival, and she won a superior ranking, which I was thrilled with because for someone who has trouble with speech, to actually have to follow a live accompanist and be in that same rhythm and, having to recall all of that and memorizing was just amazing and such a big victory for her. So that's just a little bit about our story. It's still unfolding, but I know coming in here now for the fourth time with my 3rd child, I'm not as scared. I know that this can be overcome. I know they'll always have it, but that doesn't mean that they can't live a fulfilling life. It doesn't mean that they, can't have friends or, interact with people or have a job or things like that. All of those worries that I felt when I first walked through here. So just be encouraged that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to look for it, and you just have to keep working towards it, and don't give up on your kids because they will teach you amazing things every day.